Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take complex frameworks, dense research, and successful strategies and distill them into the most actionable, game-changing insights just for you.
Today, we are taking on a massive project. We're diving deep into what is arguably the most systematic, structured roadmap for founders out there, the 24 steps of disciplined entrepreneurship.
And this isn't just some checklist, right? It's a meticulously crafted operating manual.
Exactly. If you're starting what's called an innovation-driven enterprise, an IDE, this is your tactical blueprint. It's theory, practice, and tactics all rolled into one.
All designed to drastically increase your odds of hitting that holy grail of startup life, tight product market fit. We're drawing on material used by successful founders all over the world.
And that's so important because this is really training content. In the beginning, before you have teams, it is truly founder-led everything.
Oh, absolutely. You're the CEO, head of sales, chief engineer.
And the marketing director, all at once. This framework makes sure that even if you've never done it before, you learn just enough about each role to be effective. It's about turning a vague idea into a real, scalable business.
So our mission today is to walk through this entire process step by step. But we should say up front, while it's presented as linear, it's not really, is it?
Not at all. You have to think of it as spiraling toward the right answer. It's very iterative. You might learn something in step 10 that sends you right back to step 4 to refine your market definition.
And that's what discipline means here, embracing that cycle.
And if there's one single thing to take away from this whole dive, it's this. The single necessary and sufficient condition for a business to exist is a paying customer.
A paying customer. Everything comes back to that.
Every single step we cover today, every calculation, every decision, it all relates back to finding, engaging, and getting money from that customer.
Fantastic. So let's unpack this blueprint. We're going through all 24 steps, divided into 6 logical phases: market identification, quantification, product definition, acquisition strategy, the financial engine, and finally, launch and scaling. Okay, let's start at the very beginning with step 0. How do I get started? Most founders begin with an idea, right? Or maybe some cool tech from a lab.
That's usually the spark, yes, but it's rarely enough to sustain you. The goal is to find what the framework calls a hybrid idea.
A hybrid idea, what does that mean?
It's where two forces converge. First, you have market pull. That's a deep, undeniable customer pain point. And second, you have technology push, a new concept that can solve that pain in a fundamentally better way.
So if you only have the tech, you have a solution looking for a problem.
Exactly. And if you only have the market pull, you probably have a commodity with no real advantage. You need both.
Like the example of K-12 teachers being overwhelmed by grading, that's the market pull. And the iPad creating a new way to solve it, that's the technology push.
Precisely. And right here, at step 0, you also need 2 non-negotiable human elements: passion and a team.
I mean, you have to have the passion to get through the inevitable tough times.
The soul-crushing challenges, yes.
Yeah.
And research from places like MIT has shown for years that solo founders really struggle. You need co-founders for skills, for knowledge, and just for the emotional load. This process demands more than one brain.
Okay, so that brings us to step 1. Market segmentation. This is where we stop dreaming and start systematically hunting for a specific painful problem.
Correct. The goal is to move from a general idea to identifying lots of potential markets that could actually sustain a business. And this happens in 3 phases.
Phase 1 is brainstorming, I see.
Right. And you have to go broad here.
Right.
Resist the urge to settle on your first idea. If your idea is for the education sector, you can't just say schools.
You have to break it down. Teachers, administrators, IT staff, parents, then public school, private school, urban, rural.
That's the level of detail you need. But there's a second purpose to this, and it's about the team. The brainstorming isn't just about the ideas, it's about building cohesion.
Because everyone was in the room and understands why you landed on the final answer.
Exactly. That shared history is what holds you together when you disagree later. So after brainstorming, phase 2 is narrowing that huge list down to your top 6 to 12 opportunities.
And then comes the hard part.
Phase 3, primary market research, or PMR. You have to go talk to, or at least observe, a minimum of 10 potential end users for each of those segments.
And that's a real test, isn't it? Just getting those 10 meetings with busy professionals is often the first big hurdle for a new team.
It absolutely is. And that research sets you up for the next hypercritical decision in step 2. selecting a beachhead market.
I love the military metaphor. It really forces you to focus. What's the definition here?
A beachhead market is the single initial market segment you commit all your resources to dominating. Notice the singular, beachhead market, not markets.
No plural. If you try to serve 3 markets, you're really serving none of them.
You've got it. So to pick that one market, there's a litmus test with 6 criteria.
Okay, what are they?
First, is the customer reachable? Can you actually get your product in front of them? Second, do they have a compelling, urgent reason to buy? This needs to be a hair-on-fire problem.
Not just a mild inconvenience.
Exactly. Third, can you deliver a whole product? This is a big one. It's not just your core tech.
Right. If you have a new battery, the customer doesn't just want the battery. They want the car, the charger, the warranty, the complete solution.
That's the whole product.
Yeah.
The final 3 criteria are, is there blocking competition that could crush you? Does the market have a budget for this? And finally, if you win this beachhead, can you use it to expand later?
The bowling alley metaphor. You hit the first pin and it helps knock down the others.
That's the one. Sensible Technologies is a great example. They had this amazing haptic tech. They chose industrial design for toys and footwear as their beachhead because their product was best at free-form, organic design, which is exactly what you need for shoes and toys. It gave them a focused entry point they could absolutely dominate.
Which leads us to step 3. Build an end user profile. We have the market, now we need to know the person.
This is the composite of the people who will actually use the product. It goes beyond market stats into demographics and psychographics.
Demographics are the easy ones: age, job, title, income. But psychographics, why do we need those?
Because they inform your product design and marketing so much more deeply. Psychographics are their aspirations, their fears, their hobbies, their values.
So if your user is highly risk-averse, your messaging has to be about reliability, not cutting-edge features.
Precisely. For Sensible, their profile was a 24 to 35-year-old industrial designer, 90% male, who listens to technopop and can be introverted. That rich context is what helps you build the right product and the right community around it.
Okay, so we have a clear picture of our user. Now we're moving into quantification with step 4. Calculate the total addressable market, or TAM, for that beachhead.
This is your most critical financial sanity check. The TAM is the annual revenue you'd get if you captured 100% of that specific beachhead market.
And the method requires 2 different approaches, a bottom-up and a top-down.
Right. And you trust the bottom-up one the most. That's where you count the number of end users from your profile and multiply that by how much you think they're worth per year. It's based on your own primary research.
And the top-down uses industry reports and analyst data to sort of check your work.
It's a cross-check. If your bottom-up says there are 10,000 users and industry reports say there are only 500, you have a serious problem. You need both to line up.
So what's the financial sweet spot for a startup's TAM?
Typically, it's between $20 million and $100 million a year. If it's below $5 million, it's probably too small to be viable or attract investors.
And if it's too big, isn't bigger always better?
It sounds like it would be, but a massive market, billions of dollars, means there are huge entrenched incumbents there already.
They have the resources and lawyers to notice you and just crush you.
They'll crush you. A $20 to $100 million market is small enough that you can dominate it before they see you as a real threat.
I thought Sensible's approach to this was really smart. They focused on budgets that were already being spent.
Yes, displacement budgets. They saw designers were already spending about $20,000 on a clay workbench every 5 years and another $15,000 on a digital workstation every 3. Their product replaced both, giving them a very concrete way to calculate the dollar value per user.
That brings us to what I think is one of the most powerful steps, step 5. Profile the persona. How is this different from the end user profile we already did?
The end user profile is a composite, a description of a group. The persona is one specific real person.
So you actually pick one individual from a potential customer, give them a name, a backstory.
Everything. A name, a family, a job title. And that person becomes the ultimate arbiter for all product decisions. When the team is arguing about features, you just ask, what would Jane, our persona, actually choose?
It makes the customer tangible for the whole team.
And the key is to pick the most average person who fits your profile, not an outlier or the person who loves your tech the most. You have to aim for the center of the target.
The example of the water filtration company really drives this home.
Oh, absolutely. They thought their value was being green, but their persona, a data center manager named Chuck, his number one priority was reliability and uptime.
He just could not have the system go down.
That was his hair on fire problem.
Yeah.
The environmental angle was a nice to have, but it wasn't the core driver. The persona immediately corrected their entire value proposition.
That's incredibly powerful. Okay, step 6, full life cycle use case. This sounds like mapping the entire customer journey.
It is, and full life cycle is the key phrase. You have to create a visual map of the customer's workflow before, during, and after they use your product.
So it's not enough to just show the 5 minutes they spend inside my app.
Not nearly enough. You have to map the as-is state, how they solve the problem now, or fail to, and compare it to the to-be state with your product. This reveals all the hidden barriers to adoption.
The Philby example, the nightmare on Decor Street, was perfect.
Right. They mapped the whole painful process of buying furniture. Browse, buy, and then the nightmare. It doesn't fit, so you have to return it. Their product had to integrate way at the beginning of that process to prevent the pain later on.
And doing this analysis upfront is so much cheaper than fixing a flawed product after you've spent millions building it.
Infinitely cheaper.
Yeah.
And if you have a two-sided market, you have to do this for both sides, the buyer and the seller. Every persona has their own journey.
Okay, we've defined the customer and their experience. Now we start defining the product, beginning with step 7, high-level product specification.
The most important word in this step is restraint. You're creating a simple visual representation, like a brochure or a storyboard. And it has to emphasize benefits, not features.
Benefits tied directly to the persona's top priorities.
Exactly. And the big flashing warning sign here is, do not build the product yet.
That's the one every founder struggles with. The temptation to just start coding is huge.
I know, but building early is so costly. It distracts the team, and worse, it creates emotional attachment to ideas you haven't even validated yet. A simple brochure is easy to throw away. 6 months of code is not.
The Lifetime Supply example showed this well. They created a brochure for their college supply subscription service.
And it clearly laid out the benefits for students' convenience and for parents' cost savings, reminders. They sold the value proposition without writing a single line of code.
Which flows right into step 8, quantify the value proposition, turning those benefits into dollars and cents.
Yes. Instead of saying your software improves efficiency, you have to, our software reduces labor time by 40 days a year, which saves you $15,000 in salary costs.
You measure the as-is state and calculate the improvement.
And then, crucially, you have to take that calculation back to your persona and get them to agree with it. If they don't believe your numbers, your value prop is flawed.
So we've quantified the value for one person, our persona. Now we need to make sure they're not an outlier. That's step 9. Identify your next 10 customers.
This is your validation step. You find 10 more people who fit the profile and you talk to them. The goal is to confirm they're similar to your persona and, ideally, to confirm they would be willing to buy.
It gives you confidence that this opportunity is actually scalable.
Exactly. It's a chance to refine everything you've done so far. The profile, the TAM, the persona, the value prop. You're moving from a single data point to a small but significant data set.
Okay, now we shift focus inward a bit with step 10. Define your core. What exactly is the core?
The core is your single, hard-to-replicate asset that gives you a sustainable competitive advantage. It's things like network effects, proprietary technology, a powerful brand.
So the core is not what the customer buys.
That is the critical distinction. Customers buy your competitive position, which is step 11. Your core is how you build that position and defend it over time. Selling without a core is building a business on sand.
Sensible Technology struggled with this, right? They thought their core was their hardware, the haptic device.
Yes, but they realized hardware could eventually be copied. So they redefined their core as the proprietary software that ran the device. It had to update at 1,000 frames per second to create the sensation of touch. That was way harder to replicate.
So once you know your internal core, you map your external position in step 11. Chart your competitive position.
This is an exercise in ruthless focus. You create a 2x2 matrix, and the axes are based only on your persona's top 2 priorities.
So if our data center manager, Chuck, cares most about reliability and cost, those are the only 2 things on the chart.
Nothing else matters for this exercise. And your success indicator is non-negotiable. Your company must be in the top right quadrant.
Meaning you're the best on both of the customer's top 2 priorities.
If you're not, you have to go back and reevaluate your product or your market until you are. You have to be unambiguously superior on what matters most to the customer.
All right, we've defined our competitive edge. Now we need a strategy to actually acquire customers. Step 12 is determine the customer's decision-making unit, the DMU.
You can have the best product in the world, But if your user can't get the budget for it, you have nothing. The DMU is about mapping the political landscape inside the customer's organization.
Because the person using the product is rarely the one who pays for it.
Almost never in B2B. So you have to identify all the key roles. You have the end user, your persona. You have the economic buyer who controls the budget. Then you have your champion, the person inside who fights for you.
And then the dangerous ones, influencers and people with veto power.
Exactly. Veto power is huge. These are people in legal or IT or purchasing who can kill a deal dead, even if everyone else wants it.
The data center filtration team ran right into this.
They did. The facilities manager was the economic buyer, but Chuck, the end user, had veto power. If he didn't trust the system's reliability, the deal was off no matter what the budget said.
So once you know who decides, step 13 is to map the process to acquire a paying customer.
This is about detailing the sequence of steps that DMU goes through to buy something. It helps you figure out your sales cycle length and find bottlenecks. We usually break it down into 7 stages.
Let's run through them quickly.
It starts with awareness and discovery, then evaluation and education. Third is commitment, then validation or testing. Fifth is the big one, purchase.
The moment money changes hands, what comes after?
Installation and setup. And finally, loyalty and advocacy, where they're so happy they buy more or tell their friends.
In this step, the idea of windows of opportunity and triggers comes up. What's the difference?
A window of opportunity is a period when the customer is most open to buying. Think of budget cycles or a new regulation coming into effect. It's a predictable event.
And a trigger is the action you take to capitalize on that window.
Precisely. The window opens and you use a trigger. A great example is a security company. A major data breach hits the news. That's the window of opportunity. Their trigger is to immediately offer a special security audit to potential customers.
That makes perfect sense. And finally for this section, step 14, follow-on markets, planning for expansion.
Yes, and the discipline here is to change only one variable at a time.
Meaning you can either sell your existing product to a new customer group or sell a new product to your existing customers, but not both at once.
Never both. It's too risky. You dilute your resources and your brand. You have to leverage the win from your beachhead.
Like Sensible, they had to add new file formats to their product to sell into the jewelry and automotive markets.
Right. They slightly changed the product, but they kept the same type of customer designers. That's the change one variable rule in action.
Okay, we're entering the financial engine. This is where things get serious. Step 15. Design a business model.
The business model is how you capture value. It's the architecture of how you get paid. And it is absolutely not the same thing as pricing.
An innovative business model can be a competitive advantage in itself.
A huge one. Think of Amy Street's variable pricing for music. The price went up as the song got more popular. That wasn't just pricing. It was a model that incentivized discovery and early adoption.
And what's a model to avoid?
The framework really warns against cost plus in the long term. It signals that your product is just a commodity. Your model should be based on the value you create, not your costs.
Which leads right into step 16. Set your pricing framework. How do we price based on value?
You aim to capture a fraction of that value you quantified back in step 8. And you have to understand your early customers. The tech enthusiasts and early adopters are often price inelastic.
They'll pay more to be first or to solve a problem no one else can.
Exactly. So you can often start with a higher price and offer special discounts for those crucial lighthouse customers who give you credibility in case studies.
Moving on to step 17. Estimate the lifetime value, or LTV, of an acquired customer. This feels like the anchor for the whole financial model.
It is. LTV is the net present value of the profit a customer generates over a set time, usually 5 years for a startup. Any longer than that is just too speculative.
And what's the golden rule of unit economics here?
LTV must be at least 3 times greater than your cost of customer acquisition, or QOCA.
LTV has to be 3x QCA, or you're losing money on every customer.
You're hemorrhaging cash. And understanding what drives LTV, your margins, your retention rate, purchase frequency, is key to making smart decisions. If your LTV is too low, you have to find a way to make your product stickier.
The Helios fleet example showed this. They had a big upfront payment, but low LTV.
Right, because after that big initial payment, there was no strong reason for the customer to stick around. There was no recurring revenue. They had to go back and redesign their business model to encourage follow-on orders and boost that LTV.
So step 18 maps the sales process, but now with LTV in mind.
Yes, Your LTV tells you how much you can afford to spend to get a customer, which dictates your sales channel.
There are three main channels, right?
Three main ones: high-cost, high-touch field sales, which you can really only afford if your LTV is above, say, $30,000. Then you have inside sales over the phone and web. And finally, the lowest cost, internet or self-service. Your LTV determines which of these is viable.
And that brings us to the other side of the equation, step 19. Estimate the cost of customer acquisition, key OCA.
This is the number that founders are almost pathologically optimistic about. It is always underestimated.
And in the beginning, key OCA is usually higher than LTV, isn't it?
Almost always. The challenge is to bring it down over time. And you must use a top-down calculation.
Not a bottom-up one, because that misses all the hidden costs.
All of them. Top-down is simple. Add up all your sales and marketing expenses in a period, salaries, ads, travel, everything, and divide by the number of new customers you got.
And you have to track that number over time to see if the trend is going down.
If it's not going down, you don't have a sustainable business. Dollar Shave Club is the classic example of creatively tackling key OCA.
Right. Traditional advertising would have been too expensive.
Astronomical. So they used a viral video and a subscription model to slash their key OCA and gain massive awareness very, very quickly.
Okay, final section. De-risking and scaling. Step 20 is to identify key assumptions.
We've been testing assumptions all along, but now that you have the full financial model built, you can see which assumptions are truly critical to the whole system.
Things like your churn rate or your conversion rates or cost targets.
And you have to retest them. People might say they'll buy in an interview, but their real-world behavior might be totally different.
Which is step 21. Test key assumptions. This is where you get scientific.
You have to be. The goal is to design cheap, quick, easy empirical tests to get hard data. You want to avoid writing code or building hardware if you can.
The inspired coffee truck is a perfect example.
It's a brilliant test. Their core assumption was that people would voluntarily write inspiring things on a public chalkboard.
Yep.
Before buying a truck, they just found a chalkboard, wrote a prompt, and watched.
They gathered real data on human behavior for almost no cost.
That's the mindset. So after de-risking, you finally build something in step 22. Define the minimum viable business product, or MVBP.
And this is different from a typical MVP, a minimum viable product.
Very different. An MVBP has to do three things, not just one. One, the customer has to get value. Two, the economic buyer has to pay for it. And three, it has to create a feedback loop for you to learn from.
And the tactic here is often concierging or using no-code tools.
Exactly. Concierging is doing things manually that won't scale, but let you test the idea with zero upfront investment. The company Dignitize built their entire first product on the no-code platform Bubble. They had paying customers before they ever hired an engineer.
StyleUp did the same with just emails and a sign-up page. It's about validating the core value, not perfecting the design.
That's the whole point. And that leads to the final systems test, step 3. Show that the dogs will eat the dog food.
I love that phrase. This is where you need quantitative proof that the whole thing works.
This is where you have to measure. You track your conversion rates through the whole sales funnel, you track your churn rate, and most importantly, you track actual payments. Credibility skyrockets when money changes hands.
ThriveHive did this by having no long-term contracts,
which gave them maximum exposure to feedback. They tracked their monthly churn and customer referrals obsessively. And by showing those numbers were healthy, they proved they were delivering more value than they were capturing. That's the core of sustainable economics.
And the final step, step 24. Develop a product plan beyond V1.
You've conquered the beachhead. Now you need a high-level, flexible plan to scale into those follow-on markets you identified way back in step 14.
And the key insight is that for each new market or major version, you basically cycle back through the 24 steps again.
It's a spiral. The next time through is faster and easier because you've learned so much. Sensible's V1 was for toys and footwear. Their V2 plan involved adding new features specifically to target their next markets, jewelry and automotive. They were always thinking 1 or 2 moves ahead.
Wow. That was an incredibly thorough journey through the entire life cycle. It's demanding, but you can really see the power in this kind of disciplined, customer-focused approach.
The rigor is the point. It's designed to de-risk the venture before you invest too much time, money, or emotion into an idea that hasn't been validated.
And it's really about the mindset, isn't it? The continuous iteration and action.
It is. I mean, if you look back, the real gold you build through this process is the deep primary knowledge you gain from talking to those first customers. You know their problems better than anyone else on the planet.
That knowledge is your ultimate competitive advantage.
It is the source of all your future success.
So as you think about this whole roadmap, we want to leave you with one final thought. Out of all the assumptions you currently hold about your market, your product, or your customer, which core assumption needs the most immediate, simple, and cheap empirical testing before you take your next big step?
Intelligent, disciplined, and adaptive action. That's the entrepreneur's superpower.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into discipline entrepreneurship. We'll catch you next time.